जिंदगी के शोर व गम में अक्सर इंसान अपने आप से रिश्ता खो देता है। दिन रात के इस सिलसिले में वक्त यूं फिसल जाता है कि इंसान अपनी रूह की खामोशी को सुन ही नहीं पाता। खुशामदीद है इस रूहानी सफ़र में, एक ऐसा सफ़र जहां बारिश सिर्फ एक मौसम ही नहीं बल्कि अपने अंदर झांकने का एक मौका है। ये मंजर आपको घने जंगलों में ले जाएंगे, धुंध से लिपटी राहों पर और बहते हुए झरनों के पास, सब्ज़ो शदाब कुदरत के दामन में और उन खामोश लम्हों में जहां दिल अपने आप से गुफ्तगू करता है। ये मंजर आपके दिल को छू लेंगे और रूह तक समा जाएंगे। ये फिल्म मोहब्बत और शिद्दत की एक पेशकश है। उम्मीद है कि ये इंतहाई रूहानी सफ़र आपको अपने आप से रूबरू करा देगा। आओ कुछ सुकून के पल मिलकर साथ गुजारें।
In the humdrum of everyday life, we often drift away from ourselves. Hours slip into days, days into nights, and somewhere in this endless cycle, we forget to listen to the quiet voice of our own soul. Find Me in the Rain is an intimate journey where rain is not just weather, but a message, a mirror, a gentle metaphor guiding us back to who we truly are. Through deep forests, veiled in mist, along winding trails across waterfalls and rain-drenched valleys, this is a voyage to the heart. Made with love and devotion, this film is an invitation to pause, to breathe, and to rediscover yourself in the rain. Find me, not in noise or in name, but in the moss, the mist, and the flame of a soul reborn in soft refrain. Come, find me in the rain. The making of this film has been a quiet joy for Rahul. Each day he set out with purpose, into the misty forests, along rain-washed trails, guided by a clear vision of what he wished to capture. Slowly, as the days passed, the pieces came together just as he had imagined, flowing into one another with ease. What began as a steady pursuit has now found its form in this film. To drift through clouds is to step into a dream. Vast formations rise and fall like mountains of mist, ever changing, ever moving. One moment they open into corridors of light, the next they fold into secret chambers of shadow. Floating within them feels like entering another world. A world where silence has a sound and distance has no meaning. The horizon disappears, the sky and the earth blur into one, and you are left suspended in an endless sea of white. It is a place both tender and immense, where the heart slows, the breath deepens, and you feel, perhaps for the first time, that you are part of something far greater than yourself. And then, As the clouds part, the earth reveals its hidden wonders. A waterfall deep in the forest, tumbling with a music as old as time, waiting to be found. What follows is a passage of time seen differently. Clouds captured not as the eye perceives them, but as they truly are. Restless, alive, forever in motion. In a time lapse, moments are gathered and woven together, turning the sky into a stage where dramas of light and shadow unfold. Great swells of cloud rise and dissolve. Mists race across valleys. The heavens shift and reshape themselves with a grace that feels eternal. It is as though the sky is breathing, preparing for what is to come. And on earth below, life waits in quiet knowing. Rivers hold their breath. Valleys grow still, forests listen, all sense the promise that rides on these winds. For when clouds gather, they bring with them the herald of rain. Rain that slows the world, rain that softens the air, rain that brings us back to ourselves. This is not just a film about the monsoon, it is a journey inward, an invitation to pause, to feel, to listen, to rediscover what it means to be alive. Beneath restless skies, a forest stirs, dark, untamed, alive with secrets. Shadows breathe. Silence carries its own music. Then comes the mist, slow, magical, rolling down the slopes, wrapping the deodars in shifting veils. Trunks fade, crowns vanish, until the forest itself seems to dissolve into a dream. Through this curtain of white, a winding road appears, bending, vanishing, reappearing again, as though it too is searching for a way into the unknown. It calls, drawing us deeper, promising wonder, promising mystery. Step further, past dripping leaves, past fading light, and the forest changes. No longer just trees or stone. It becomes a living heart, pulsing with hidden life. Rustles in the dark, flickers of light, whispers of stories, older than our own. This is not a journey into nature alone. It is a journey into its soul. On earth below, life waits in quiet knowing. Rivers hold their breath, valleys grow still, forests listen. All sense the promise that rides on these winds. For when clouds gather, they bring with them the herald of rain. Rain that slows the world, rain that softens the air, rain that brings us back to ourselves. Young llama boys spill out from a monastery in flowing maroon robes. Hurrying down a winding road, their laughter rises above the silence of the hills, their bonding evident. In their joy, the solemn quiet of the mountains is broken, yet also completed. For a moment, time itself pauses. The laughter of llama boys, the whisper of the clouds, and the winding road become one hymn to the beauty of the hills. The long-awaited rain begins. A silver drop rests on a flower, then slides down its petal, leaving it brighter, alive again. Leaves glisten, bending under the soft weight of water. The forest, silent for so long, stirs with quiet joy. Paths grow darker, rich with moisture. Valleys open their arms to the rain. Trees breathe easier, as though relieved of an old thirst. A brook gathers speed, its voice clearer, a song weaving through the silence of the woods. The sound of falling rain steadies the mind, a rhythm, gentle yet constant, like the beat of the earth itself. It washes away restlessness, leaves only calm, and with it comes the fragrance of wet soil, raw, grounding, timeless. A scent that carries memories of childhood, of forgotten monsoons, of evenings when the world felt safe and whole. The rain does not stop at nourishing the land. It enters us. It cools the heat of worry, softens the edges of thought. In its presence, life feels lighter, simpler. In such moments, we are reminded the rain does not fall outside us alone. It falls within. It awakens not just the forest, but the spirit. It whispers of renewal, of beginnings, of peace that lies quietly, waiting in our own hearts. In the soft light, a waterfall shimmers. From afar, it looks like a veil, thin and flowing. But as we draw closer, it roars into spray. The splash scatters into vapor, a cool mist rising, touching skin, filling the air with freshness. Such moments are ethereal, neither dream nor waking, where time slows and the soul listens. The mountain brook winds its way down through rock and moss, a restless current on a timeless journey. It spills over dark stone in sudden cascades, breaking into silver streams that scatter and rise. Droplets hang in the air, the whole space touched by their cool breath. The light is gentle, filtered through clouds. Nothing is harsh here. Time itself feels slower, And in that stillness, we begin to notice the wet sheen of stone, leaves trembling at the edge of water, the fine spray where stream meets stream. Around these falls, life gathers close. The greens are lush, almost glowing. Moss spreads thick on rock, ferns unfold, grasses bend beneath a touch of mist. The land seems alive with renewal, nourished by the brook's song. To linger here is to feel the weight of the day slowly lift. The sound of rushing water steadies the heart. It does not end, it does not falter. And as it flows, so too does the mind begin to ease, the spirit remembering its quiet strength. There is something more than beauty in these waters. They carry a lesson without speaking. In their rushing, a rhythm. In their fall, a surrender. In their unbroken flow, a gentle reminder that change itself can be healing, that movement is also peace. Here in the breath of rain, in the sweep of green, in the unending voice of water, one feels restored, not escaping life, but returning to its source. A retreat for the weary, healing, rejuvenating, timeless. And in this quiet, with rain and stream as companions, one begins to find the self again, to find a voice within the silence, to find me in the rain. Anyone can love a beach. The sweep of waves, the sky unfolding into the horizon. It dazzles, it calls to us with its vastness. But it takes a soul to love the moss. Rain-drenched, alive, breathing softly against stone. It does not shout beauty. It waits. It asks for stillness, for patience. Lean closer, and the world shifts. A single drop, glistening on its velvet skin, carries the memory of 1,000 rains, the patience of time itself. This is nature's whisper, a secret meant not for hurried eyes, but for those willing to listen. To love moss is to love tenderness. It is to feel the heartbeat of the earth, quiet yet eternal. This is beauty you don't just see. This is beauty you feel with the heart and with the soul. A single thread of water drifts down the darkened rock, as though the earth were weeping softly in joy. It lingers on the stone, then bends to caress a waiting leaf, leaving behind a trembling jewel of light. This is not a storm's roar, not the wild dance of monsoon winds. This is the tender heart of rain, the secret face that reveals itself only to those who pause. To hurried eyes it is nothing. To the discerning it is nature's hymn. The rock becomes a canvas, the leaf a listener, and the droplet a fleeting messenger of the sky. What slips past others as ordinary is, in truth, sheer magic. Here lies a beauty too fragile for spectacle, too delicate for applause. In this gentle descent, the soul remembers what it had forgotten. That wonder does not always live in thunder or torrents. Sometimes it comes as a whisper, in the hush of water against stone, in the brief embrace of rain and leaf. The monsoon speaks here not in fury but in grace, and in listening, the heart is stirred awake, quietly, completely. Rain drapes the forest in silence. Leaves glisten, each one alive with light. The earth breathes again, washed, renewed, unburdened. A hush settles. The restless mind softens as if these shining leaves were a balm upon the soul. Droplets gather, holding the sky in their fragile curves. They fall, they linger, they return. A rhythm older than memory. The green deepens. The air carries a fragrance that stirs the heart, fresh, tender, and eternal. Here in the stillness of rain-drenched leaves is life itself, soothing, abundant, beginning again. The pine needles glisten, slender strands holding on to a drop of rain. The droplets do not fall at once, they linger at the edge, as though reluctant to part. In that hesitation lies a quiet poetry, an embrace between sky and earth, held for a fleeting moment. The rains reveal themselves in countless forms, and here in these needles lies one of their gentlest faces. 1,000 tiny mirrors tremble with light, softening the forest, soothing the restless spirit. To watch them is to be reminded of how fragile beauty can be, how it often lives in the smallest corners of life, unnoticed unless we pause. The forest breathes differently after the rain. The air is heavy with fragrance, the needles whisper in silence, and the heart finds rest. In these glistening strands, we glimpse the eternal rhythm of nature, holding, releasing, and renewing. A silver drop rests on a flower, then slides down its petal, leaving behind a glow, as if the flower has been kissed awake. Colors deepen in the rain: crimson, orange, pink, each shade made richer, more alive. The flowers sway to a gentle breeze, moving as though they are dancing to the soft music of the rain. In their quiet rhythm, something stirs within us. The heart feels lighter, the mind calmer. To watch them like this is to be reminded of tenderness, of how fragile yet resilient life is. The rain does not merely touch the petals, it touches the soul. It softens the spirit. It opens us to beauty we often pass by. There is a romance in such moments, a stillness that speaks, as if the world is whispering, "Slow down, breathe, let yourself be renewed." After the rains, when the earth is washed clean and the leaves glisten, the butterflies return. From the damp undergrowth rises the Himalayan yellow coster. Its wings, bright and yellow, stand out against the deep green of the forest leaves. Not far away, the Himalayan hill Jezebel finds its perch upon a butterfly bush. Its wings fold and open in rhythm, drawing nectar with quiet patience. The scene feels timeless, the flower offering sweetness. And in a shaded corner, where droplets still cling to the earth, rests the chocolate pansy. Its velvety wings, warm and rich in tone, absorb the soft light. And far above, the Himalayan griffin vulture commands the skies. Vast wings spread wide, it glides with a grace that belongs only to mountains, circling effortlessly eternal, a master of the wind and height. The rains blesses them all, from sparrow to vulture. The yellow-breasted green finch picks delicately from the rain-washed leaves, its breast a flare of brightness. Brief glimpse of a black bulbul. A gray bush chat pauses to preen, fluffing its soft plumage. Delicate strokes leave it neat, poised, and graceful. The cliff sanctuary of pigeons stands as a natural fortress, rugged, weathered, and carved patiently by time itself. Crevices and ledges shaped by wind and rain have become safe havens where pigeons nest and rest. Against the sheer rock face, their presence brings life to an otherwise silent monument of stone. The black kite, an opportunistic scavenger, sits watchfully on a rock, its sharp eyes scanning for the faintest chance of a meal. A blue whistling thrush hops lightly across a rain-soaked black rock face. The paradise flycatcher, out in the drizzle, looks ethereal, its damp crest slightly ruffled, and its long white streamers trailing like wet silk threads in the soft rain. It flickers between branches, delicate yet resilient, turning the gray drizzle into a scene of quiet grace. The black drongo, rain-drenched, sits upright on a wire, its glossy feathers darkened to a deep, inky sheen. Droplets cling to its long, forked tail, and with each shiver, a spray of fine mist slips away. Yet it holds its ground against the drizzle, sharp-eyed and unbothered. A streaked laughing thrush looks resplendent in the gentle, diffuse light. And then a platoon of crows, drenched, ruffled, yet dignified, huddled together as if in conference with the storm. And then a brief glimpse. The chestnut-bellied rock thrush flash of deep chestnut and brilliant blue. House sparrows gather close pecking at scattered nuts, their soft chirps weaving a rhythm with the rain. The oriental white-eye flits from branch to branch. A bar-tailed tree creeper climbs the bark in graceful spirals, blending seamlessly with the rain-soaked forest. On a higher branch, the great barbet watches, a riot of colors, green, yellow, and blue, like a fragment of the forest itself come alive. In the thickets, the black-headed jay appears, a restless spirit of the hills. A red-vented bulbul looks on. The rain comes, and the forest stirs with wings. A verteter flycatcher sits drenched amongst glistening leaves. The freshness of the world seems mirrored in its delicate frame. The Himalayan bulbul, so familiar to these mountains, looks resplendent, its crown lifted, its breast glowing even brighter after the shower. By the waterside, a common sandpiper searches quietly, hunting in the calm shallows of a river, each ripple echoing its delicate steps. Near the mountain streams, the white-capped water redstart stands proud, its dark plumage and shining cap making it a jewel against the rushing torrent. Above, a black kite perches heavy with water, feathers clinging close, its keen eyes undimmed by the downpour. A russet sparrow perched in quiet grace glows with warm hues against the softness of nature. The rain has a way of slowing life down, of drawing us back to simple joys. From the veranda of an old bungalow, the world feels softer, more intimate. A wooden bench glistens under a fresh shower. The lawn stretches out in a deepened green, hedges trimmed by raindrops, flower pots brimming with new life. There is a pull, an irresistible urge, to step barefoot onto the damp grass, to feel the coolness rise through the skin. The thought of hot samosas shared in that moment makes the scene complete. Comfort wrapped in the sound of falling rain. Something stirs within us here. The rain invites us to set aside the clutter of our days, to rediscover the small rituals that make life rich. It reminds us of who we are when the world is stripped down to smell, touch, sound, and longing. The veranda becomes more than a shelter. It becomes a bridge between the outer world and the inner. As the rain falls, our heart finds the urge to reconnect with nature and with your inner self. A garden swing creaks gently in the breeze, waiting for someone to sit with a cup of steaming tea. There is something about the rains that awakens hunger in a very particular way. The drizzle falls, the roads glisten, and suddenly the heart begins to crave chow mein. Those smoky strands made by Tibetan hands in their quiet little shacks. You stand there watching, onions, ginger, and garlic hitting the hot iron, releasing a fragrance sharp enough to cut through the damp air. But the monsoon has more voices. Who can ignore the call of samosas? That golden triangle, fried to crisp perfection, still hissing from the oil, breaking apart to reveal its steaming heart of spiced potatoes and peas. A samosa in the rains is more than food. It is warmth, memory, comfort, soul food in its truest sense. And then, the batura. The dough slips into bubbling oil, and before your eyes it rises, round, fluffy, glowing with heat. Mummy's day out. Hot tea, crunchy samosas, and endless chatter with her friend. The weather outside only makes the company warmer. Such get-togethers in the monsoon are little joys remembered long after. The jungle trails open before us, draped in countless shades of green. Leaves and blades of grass carry the freshness of life itself. The air is still, yet alive, holding a silence so deep it feels like a gentle embrace. In this silence, the heart begins to soften. The forest speaks without words. Through the rustle of unseen wings, the whisper of trees swaying in rhythm with the earth, and the quiet hum of life hidden beneath the foliage. Steps along these trails feel like a return to something timeless, something sacred. The hues of green are not just colors, but medicines for the soul. They soothe, they nourish, they heal. Here the mind is no longer restless. The spirit begins to breathe more freely. Inhales draw in calm, and exhales release weight we no longer need to carry. The forest holds a wisdom we often forget, that silence can sing, that stillness can move us, and that healing doesn't come from force, but from surrender. When we allow ourselves to simply be, the jungle takes us in, gently restoring what the world has worn away. In this magical quiet, the trails do not just lead deeper into the forest, they lead deeper into ourselves, into peace, into wholeness, into a remembering of who we truly are. And so the rains recede into memory, the clouds drift, the skies darken, day surrenders to night. But the essence remains, the reminder that life, like rain, is fleeting and precious. Too often we wait for the perfect moment, postponing joy, delaying what the soul yearns for. Yet happiness was never meant to be saved for later. It belongs to the now, the steaming cup of tea, the walk in the drizzle, the song of a bird, the laughter of a friend. To remain connected with the world, we must first remain connected with ourselves. The heart knows what nourishes it, what heals it, what gives it wings. Listen, do not turn away. Happiness is not a destination. It is the rain on your window, the moment in your hand. Hold it now before it slips away. The rain whispers a truth. We are alive only in the present. Do not wait to live. The soul cannot be postponed. And when the rain fades and silence returns, may we remember life's greatest gift is not tomorrow, it is this moment. For in the end, we do not own time. We only hold moments, like raindrops in our hands.